What is responsible business and why is it important? Operating a business responsibly requires organizations to have a strong moral compass. Responsible business and ethics go hand in hand because they are a set of moral principles which help companies navigate how to make ethical decisions in their daily operations. This could be by protecting the environment, valuing the well-being of their employees, or positively influencing society. In order to do this, businesses should be involved in CSR. So what is CSR? Corporate social responsibility is a form of regulation whereby businesses incorporate social and environmental concerns in their daily operations in order to add value to the community and build a positive brand for their company. When businesses prioritize the well-being of society and the environment, the benefits of operating in such a manner are endless. It is important for companies to operate responsibly so they can, one, have a larger client base, and this is because they've developed a mutual feeling of trust with the community, and two, have higher potential growth rates, and lastly, attract better talent, which would lead to greater productivity. The ethical problem area. For this documentary, we chose to talk about how Valeant Pharmaceuticals were involved in the ethical issue of environment in business, and we focused on price exploitation and unethical accounting methods. The study of environment in business revolves around the idea that businesses should operate in ways that do not harm the environment or society for their monetary gain. With the help of business ethics, companies would be able to comply to a set of moral principles regarding topics like corporate social responsibility, discrimination, corporate governance, etc. The concept of price exploitation is when companies charge extremely high prices for their products, which do not reflect the cost of producing those products. This is done because they abuse the market power they have and alter the prices for their own benefit. Unethical accounting methods involve the actions businesses take to falsify their financial statements in order to misrepresent their financial position and standing. This could be done by listing higher assets and less liabilities, or not being transparent with their costs.
In this documentary, we'll be looking at Valeant Pharmaceuticals, a company which was founded in 1959 in California, United States of America, as ICN Pharmaceuticals, by its founder, Milan Panik. He was at the helm of the company for 47 years. In 2003, he retired from the company due to ill health limitations. Under the new management in 2003, ICN was rebranded as Valeant Pharmaceuticals as we know now. Till 2008, Valeant was known to be a small business involved in producing in-house drugs for rare diseases such as Sesamet, which is a drug for neuropathic pain. But everything changed in 2009 after the appointment of CEO Michael J. Pearson, who remodeled every single aspect of Valeant. The first big move by Pearson was the acquisition of Canadian pharmaceutical BioVale, and immediately moving base from the United States of America to Canada, largely to save taxes. The second big change by Pearson was to change the business model, from developing drugs in-house to buying of well-established pharmaceuticals with well-established drugs in the market, which followed with the strategy of cutting corners in production to reduce costs while at the same time aggressively increasing the price by tenfolds, with the motive of making Valeant Pharmaceuticals one of the most valuable companies through the ideology of volume in variety. And by 2015, Pearson did achieve his target through multiple acquisitions, which notably includes Bausch and Lomb in 2013, which helped make Valeant Pharmaceuticals one of the most sought after and valuable companies in Canada. This aggressive acquisition strategy pushed into highly inflating Valeant stock prices, even though Valeant's debts had surpassed $30 billion.
Irresponsible business practices done by Valeant Pharmaceuticals.
Valeant was once considered the darling of the pharmaceutical industry until its shady practices were revealed to the world. First, acquisition spree. In 2008, CEO Michael Pearson implemented a strategy that increased building the company through rigorous major acquisitions of small companies. This led to Valeant having a huge amount of debt from banks and financial institutions. Second, massive price hikes. The company increased prices by a huge percentile margin to gain higher revenue and show a better financial standings to their investors and shareholders. Therefore, the two main medications behind the treatment of heart ailments, that is nitropes and isoprel, witnessed a 525% increase and a 212% increase respectively in their prices between the years of 2012 and 2015. Third is the questionable accounting methods utilized by the company. Here there are two examples. First, in March 2016, Valeant got into a merger with the Valeant Pharmaceuticals, where there was a deliberate massive error made in the accounting books. Revenue was incorrectly booked as 58 million before Valeant was sold out. Second was the Bausch& Lomb acquisition in 2014. The first quarter revenue was shown to be very high despite the high debt purchase. It was later revealed that there were many elements hidden, that is, the integrated cost and many other expenses incurred in the process of acquisition were omitted from the books and hidden from the investors. The fourth and the last is channel stuffing. Valeant was accused in engaging in channel stuffing, a foul business practice that involved deliberately sending huge discounts to wholesalers for higher purchases as well as to customers for higher sales in order to increase their revenue. This reflected in better incentive and better revenue standing in the markets. Sometimes sales related to unrecognized entities were recorded as sales revenue. This was later found out to be Valeant themselves or other related companies through acquisitions or mergers with the company. Why was it considered irresponsible business practices? Every company, according to CSR, is accountable to its stakeholders. Here, Valeant failed to take up the responsibility towards the employees, consumers, investors, and society. Here, they broke the mutual trust between the investors and the shareholders due to hiding their unreliable accounting methods and their revenue books. Second, the relationship with the clients were destroyed due to the price hikes, and as Congress stated, it was exploitation of the patients and their health. Third, they used deceptive business practices that was frowned upon by the US District Attorney offices, that is channel stuffing. Lastly, the strategy was unannounced and taken by surprise by the public.
Stakeholders. What happened to the top-level executives in Valeant Pharmaceuticals after the scandal? The former company CEO, Michael Pearson, stepped down and Joseph C. Papa became the new CEO. It's been a privilege to lead Valeant for the past 8 years, Pearson said in a statement. In February 2016, Valeant announced it had to restate its financial results for 2014 and 2015 after discovering that about US $58 million of sales were recognized at the wrong time. Many investors were extremely dissatisfied with Valeant as they were misled to believe that the company was performing well when they clearly weren't. Valeant blamed Howard Schiller, its former chief financial officer and interim CEO, of improper conduct in providing incorrect information to an audit and risk committee and the company's auditors, adding that it continues to assess its financial reporting and disclosure procedures. Valeant also said that an internal committee review concluded that the company's heavily performance-based focus may have affected compensation decisions for some top managers and contributed to the company's improper recognition of revenues. Later, Schiller stepped down as CFO and left the company board, and Pearson continued to work for Valeant as a consultant and maintains an office at the company's US headquarters in New Jersey. How did Valeant try to keep its employees from leaving the company after its debacle? About 70 Valeant employees in key positions below the executive level received cash and stock to stay with the company in the United States. The impact wasn't as bad in other countries because Valeant was known by different names in these countries. How were the company's shareholders affected after the massive decline in share price? Sequoia Mutual Fund were the biggest shareholders of Valeant Pharmaceuticals that had seen its stock lose most of its value during 2015 to 2016 with a 90% drop in share price. In their recently released letter to their investors, their managers were blunt. As the largest shareholder of Valeant, our own credibility as investors has been damaged by this saga. Bill Ackman's Pershing Square hedge fund, which was the second largest shareholder, walked away from Valeant Pharmaceuticals in March 2017 with a loss of more than $3 billion as they sold their entire stake after trying to rescue it for some 18 months. How did the general public react to the high prices charged by Valeant? Valeant jacked up the price of a drug used to treat lead poisoning by more than 2,700% in a single year, which infuriated customers, hospitals, and poison control centers. This was one of the many other drugs for which the prices were spiked. The sales force of Philadoc, a specialty pharmacy owned by Valeant, had a history of aggressive and seemingly dishonest marketing, according to complaints filed with the Better Business Bureau. The practices which were explained by a former Philadoc employee include calling potential customers with plans to fill prescriptions that they never requested and promising customers one co-payment amount before ultimately billing them at a higher rate.
The impact of unethical business practice. The short-term impacts was firstly caused by the restatement and the related risk, since the annual report for 2014 and 2015 was trying to avoid the legal issues, and plummeting the sales performance are downplayed the restate in an invasive manner that directly increasing the risk. And secondly was caused by the debit-related risk. Since the risk level was increasing to the B2, the definition of B2 is subselective credit quantity and higher credit risk. So the financial outlook is break, and the debit is 30 billion and the interest was increasing to 10 billion. So the total estimated debit was plus interest is totally 41 billion. The long-term impacts of cost firstly by the goodwill problem. Since the collapse of the investor confidence was triggered, a chain of reaction and support for the factors of high valuation and high growth are no longer there. And secondly was caused by the undermining the integrity of the Medicare system, since ultimately the leading Medicare to the sham and no pay for the high inflammation of drugs offered by the Valeant. And the third one was the unreasonable price methods create a sense of the distrust in the market for allopathic drugs and medicine. It has led to the patient trying to alternatively drugs but with a very poor efficiency.
To conclude this documentary, Valeant Pharmaceuticals provides a very good example of a company with humble beginnings that soon rose to fame too quickly and eventually burnt out under the spotlight. They prioritized their profits and financial position, which proved costly in the long run. Hence, it is of extreme importance to learn from the shortcomings of other businesses and realize that the only way for a business to progress is by integrating ethical, social, and environmental operations which are equally sustainable. Thank you.